Today, we examine a story, a narrative that has captured headlines and sparked intense debate across the nation. That's gripped the nation, dominating news cycles and social media feeds alike. One that pits two political heavyweights against each other, setting the stage for a clash of ideologies and a test of wills. On one side, Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat from California, a rising star within his party, the first Latino to represent the state in the U.S. Senate, breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations. Known for championing voting rights and immigration reform, advocating for policies that reflect the values of inclusivity and opportunity. On the other, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security and former South Dakota governor, a prominent figure in the Republican Party. A Republican recognized for her tough stance on border security, prioritizing national security and strict immigration enforcement. Padilla pushes for pathways to citizenship and humanitarian immigration policies, seeking to create a more compassionate and just system, reflecting California's diverse population, a state known for its multiculturalism and progressive values. Noem, meanwhile, prioritizes strict enforcement and border security, emphasizing the need to control the flow of people and goods across the nation's borders. Embodying the administration's law and order approach, a philosophy that emphasizes the importance of public safety and national security. Their opposing philosophies set the stage for a dramatic confrontation, a moment that would test the limits of political discourse, one that would spill out of the usual political arenas and into the national spotlight, capturing the attention of the entire country. This wasn't just a policy disagreement, it was a collision of ideologies, a fundamental clash of values and beliefs, mirroring the deep divisions across America, a nation grappling with issues of identity, immigration, and the very definition of its values. The incident that followed forced the country to confront questions about free speech, the role of elected officials, and the boundaries of political discourse, challenging the norms of how we engage with each other in the public sphere. What began as a routine press event quickly became a defining moment in the national conversation on immigration and democracy, sparking a renewed focus on these critical issues. The clash between Padilla and Noem would become a symbol of the tensions simmering beneath the surface of American politics. It's a story about more than two leaders. It's about the struggle to be heard in a polarized nation, where finding common ground seems increasingly difficult. As we dive in, consider, how do we handle our differences when the stakes are this high? The answer, as you'll see, is anything but simple. This is the story of a confrontation that changed the conversation. It's a moment that made us all ask, where do we draw the line? And what happens when that line is crossed? Let's find out. The scene: Los Angeles, a sprawling metropolis where dreams are chased and policies are challenged. A city at the heart of the immigration debate, a focal point for national conversations about borders, rights, and the future of communities. Secretary Noem arrived to announce Operation Secure Future, a program promising to reshape the landscape of immigration enforcement. A federal initiative designed to boost cooperation between immigration agents and local law enforcement, aiming to create a more unified front. The Roybal Federal Building was packed with reporters, eager to capture every word and nuance of the announcement. Cameras, poised to broadcast the unfolding drama to a nation on edge. And tight security, a stark reminder of the sensitivity and potential volatility of the issues at hand. The message was clear. The administration was taking a hard line, signaling a shift in strategy and a renewed commitment to enforcement. In a state known for resisting federal immigration crackdowns, where local policies often clashed with national directives. Noem's visit was a direct challenge to California's sanctuary policies, a deliberate move to assert federal authority. Activists protested outside, their voices echoing against the cold stone of the federal building. While inside, the press prepared tough questions, ready to dissect every claim and challenge every assertion. The event was meant to showcase the administration's resolve, to project an image of strength and unwavering commitment, but tension was thick in the air, palpable and undeniable, a sense of unease hanging over the proceedings. Noem planned to defend the new policy as a matter of public safety, framing it as a necessary measure to protect communities. Not an attack on families, she would insist, but a responsible step towards a more secure nation. The press conference was set for controversy, a collision course between federal policy and local sentiment. But no one expected the real challenge to come from within the government itself, a twist that would send shockwaves through the room. As the secretary took the stage, the weight of expectations settled upon her shoulders. The stakes couldn't have been higher, with the future of immigration policy hanging in the balance. The room braced for a major announcement, a moment that would define the administration's approach to immigration. And possibly a major confrontation, a clash of ideologies and political agendas. The presence of high-ranking officials underscored the significance of the event, and the contentious topic made the atmosphere electric, charged with anticipation and uncertainty. Everyone sensed something big was about to happen, a turning point in the ongoing immigration saga. But the day's most dramatic moment would come from an unexpected source, a challenge that no one saw coming. The stage was set for a showdown, a battle for the narrative and the future of immigration policy. Senator Padilla entered quietly, not on the official list, but determined to hear the details firsthand. He stood at the back, listening as Secretary Noem outlined her enforcement plan. When the quanda began, only pre-selected journalists were called. Padilla, concerned about the human cost, raised his hand, ignored. He stepped forward, voice steady. "Secretary Noem, I have a question on behalf of Californians." He pressed for details on due process and protections for families. The room tensed. This was no ordinary question. Padilla's insistence broke the controlled flow of the event. He wasn't shouting, but his presence was impossible to ignore. The senator's move shifted the dynamic from scripted to unpredictable. Suddenly, the press conference became a battleground for accountability. Padilla's challenge was clear. Who gets to ask the hard questions? The answer, it seemed, was about to be tested. The confrontation had begun. Padilla's question stopped the room cold. Secretary Noem's staff tried to shut him down. "Questions are for credentialed media only." Padilla stood firm. "I represent 39 million Californians. They deserve answers." Security agents moved in, forming a barrier between Padilla and the podium. Tension spiked as agents quietly asked him to leave. Padilla refused, insisting on his right to speak. Reporters' phones captured every moment as the standoff escalated. The press conference ground to a halt. All eyes were on the senator and the agents. Secretary Noem watched, silent, as her security team took control. To some, her silence was strength. To others, it was dismissal. The room was no longer about policy. It was about power. The confrontation lasted only minutes, but its impact would echo far beyond the building. The line between order and overreach was blurring. The next move would define the story. The tension was palpable as the standoff reached its peak. Padilla, unyielding, refused to leave the podium. Federal agents, acting under orders, moved in swiftly, grabbing his arms. They began escorting him out of the room, a spectacle unfolding as cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing every moment. Reporters, sensing the magnitude of the event, shouted questions, their voices a chorus of inquiry and disbelief. In the hallway just outside the press conference room, the situation escalated rapidly. Padilla, resisting the escort, was forcefully pushed against a wall. The agents, determined to subdue him, produced handcuffs and secured his wrists. His aide, witnessing the scene, protested vehemently, shouting, "He's a U.S. senator! You can't do this! This is an outrage!" The image of a sitting senator in handcuffs, a symbol of authority restrained, sent immediate and powerful shockwaves through the entire political world, reverberating across the nation. Padilla wasn't formally arrested or charged with a crime, but he was definitively barred from returning to the building. He was eventually released outside, where a throng of protesters and media swarmed, eager to capture his reaction. The entire incident, from the initial refusal to leave to his release, took less than 10 minutes, but its symbolism was immediate, undeniable, and incredibly powerful, a stark visual representation of political conflict. Inside, Secretary Noem, visibly shaken, tried to regain control and resume the event, but the story, irrevocably, had changed. Her intended message was completely lost in the chaos. The focus of everyone present and the nation at large was now solely on the dramatic removal of a United States senator. The press conference, once meticulously planned, ended abruptly and prematurely, completely overshadowed by the unfolding controversy. Operation Secure Future, the initiative she had come to promote, was no longer the headline, nor would it be for some time. The highly public clash between Noem and Padilla had irrevocably taken center stage, dominating the news cycle. The nation watched the events unfold, stunned by the audacity and the implications of what they were witnessing. The fallout from this unprecedented confrontation was just beginning, promising a period of intense scrutiny and political maneuvering. Outside, Padilla faced the cameras disheveled but resolute. He called his removal an assault on democracy and free speech. If a senator can be silenced and handcuffed for asking a question, what does that mean for the average citizen? Padilla framed the incident as a dangerous precedent, not a personal affront. His office demanded an investigation and released videos that quickly went viral. Support poured in from Democratic colleagues, amplifying his message. Padilla used the spotlight to highlight the risks of Operation Secure Future racial profiling, family separation, eroded trust. The incident gave him a larger platform to oppose the policy. Ironically, being silenced had made his voice louder. The story was no longer just about immigration, it was about the right to question authority. Padilla's stand became a rallying cry. The debate had entered a new phase. DHS responded quickly, defending their actions as necessary for order and security. They called Padilla disruptive, insisting agents followed protocol. Secretary Noem's office accused him of staging a political stunt for media attention. The official line: Padilla could have requested a private meeting but chose confrontation. DHS maintained that all disruptions must be handled decisively, regardless of who's involved. No mention of disciplinary action for the agents. Their professionalism was praised. Critics argued a senator asking questions wasn't a security threat. The justification rang hollow for many, fueling the controversy. The incident deepened partisan divides, with each side seeing what they wanted to see. The political firestorm only grew. This clash was a flashpoint in America's ongoing immigration debate. The country is split. One side demands stricter enforcement, the other calls for compassionate reform. The divide has stalled meaningful legislation for years. Recent policies have sparked protests and legal battles. The Los Angeles incident was like a match to dry tinder. Emotions ran high. Noem embodied law and order, Padilla, resistance and reform. Their confrontation became a metaphor for the nation's ideological battle. Civil discussion seemed impossible. Even a senator's question was treated as a threat. The event exposed just how polarized the country has become. The struggle over immigration is about more than policy. It's about identity and power, and the stakes have never felt higher. Why does this story matter? It's about more than two politicians, it's about democracy itself. The image of a senator in handcuffs for asking a question is a warning. It shows how quickly disagreement can turn into force. The incident highlights our extreme polarization, no shared facts, no middle ground. For some, Padilla is a hero, for others, a rule breaker. When we can't agree on basic norms, democracy suffers. The event raises urgent questions. Who decides what's disruptive? Who's accountable for the use of force? The call for investigation is about more than this moment, it's about checks and balances. The story is a cautionary tale about what happens when dialogue breaks down. It challenges us to demand more civility and openness from our leaders. Democracy depends on conversation even, and especially with those we disagree with. That conversation must remain open to all.